Hi, everybody. Um, of course, this is one of my infamous impromptu, don't tell anybody, but I'm actually going live. So we've had a beautiful day today. We were we're at Sunset Sound. We're at Studio One. Now, Studio One is where I did the Van Halen stuff. Hi there, Lex. How are you? So it's a really, really beautiful room. I mean, the Studio One is probably the most famous. Hello there, Goofy. The most famous studio here. Now I've got about 10% left on. Hey, Jonathan, about 10% left on my battery. So we'll see how many minutes this goes on for. But I'm just doing an impromptu live stream here. Hello there. Hello, everybody. Please like and share. Apparently, if you like and share, people know we're online. Anyway, so what do we have going on? Well, here we have. Hey, Malcolm. This beautiful Sunset Sound console. Please like and share. Anyway, so it's a beautiful console, as you know. Hey, Timothy. And it's a Domidia designed mic pre here. And they got Jensen transformers in it. It's a unique sounding console. It's very, I don't know how it looks to everybody out there, but it's actually very simple and very intuitive. Obviously, it's got API EQs here, but it's very intuitive. And I like the fact that if you're sending, you send on, hello, what's up, Wallace? So yeah, I like the fact that you're sending on a fader, which is really, really nice. And it also means when you're mixing, how late is it on the East Coast? It is about 12:30 or something like that, isn't it? 12:43. Hey there. So what I like about it, imagine if you're mixing, you can send to your reverbs, etc. on fader. It's so much sweeter and easier to use a fader to send than it is to use a rotary control. So yes, that is an SSL style compressor. Oh dear, you're still up. In 4 hours time, you're going to get up. Anyway, so yes, this is an SSL style compressor. It's actually an Allen Smart, and it's built into the console. Hello there, David Allen. Thank you very much. I'm really glad you enjoy it. So, yeah, please feel free to like and share. Thanks ever so much for watching. Anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful console. This is a wonderful, wonderful room. I've really had a lot of great time. Yeah, the patch bay is pretty crazy. What I like about the patch bay is we would say in England, these are GPO plugs. So they're the big type. You know what I mean? They're not like they're not skinny TTs. How does it sound? I mean, it's a really fat sounding console. It's got a lot of low mids, a lot of warmth, you know, because there's a lot of transformers in there. And you get a lot of transformers, you get a lot of really great warmth. Yeah, it was with Blair today. So if you go to Produce Like a Pro on the Facebook page, you'll see Studio One. Yeah, the Prince room is where I normally am, and then the masterclass that I'm doing. No, those small faders are for sending to effects, or you know what? But you can send them to anything. You could create a separate. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for being on my Q&A. Those small faders, of course, you can send for anything. You can send to effects. You can send to monitors. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful room. I'm going to sit down over here. But you know what? First, I'll show you what I was doing. So, as you can see, flip this around. Here we have kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom. So these were actually my monitor channels when I was playing back. I like to use the console. Yeah, it's not A, it's Studio One. Actually, we're going to be in a couple of weeks. You wish you could be in the masterclass? Well, you know, we're doing the streaming. If you want to do the streaming of the masterclass, you can. Just putting this down. If you want to do the streaming, you can do that. And we'll be streaming like 8-10 hours a day. Plus, we're doing Q&As twice a day. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yes, beautiful, beautiful studio Sunset Sound. I really love it here. I was just telling somebody only today, a label I'm talking to that wants to sign, hey AJ, that wants to sign one of the artists they work with. And I arranged a time. Hello there in Australia. Oh, the artist I was working, by the way, Conrad Saul. Do you know Conrad Saul? Any of the Australians know who that is? That's who I've been working with today. Who is? It's interesting because the last 2 weeks I've been mixing Rick Springfield's new album, who's Australian, and this week I'm working with Conrad Saul, who is also Australian, who had that massive #1 in Australia with Start Again, a really, really beautiful song that a friend of mine wrote called Jamie Hartman, who I produced his solo record. Yes, exactly. If you sign up for the masterclass stream, you'll get 3 days of streaming. You also get a fully edited video of the 3 days of streaming. Plus, you'll get all the files. Yeah, it's all Australians at the moment. Plus, you'll get all of the files to mix and play with, and we're actually going to throw in a whole bunch of other goodies because the streaming. Plus, you get the 2 Q&As a day, yeah, we'll make sure it's super like. Where do we go to sign up for that? Go to Produce Like a Pro, or you can just email support@Produce Like a Pro. How about that? Support@Produce Like a Pro, and they will sign you up for it. So anyway, come to Sydney. I'd love to. I'm from outside of Nashville. Great. So yeah, this is a really. Oh, I'm actually going on holiday in a couple of weeks as well. I'm going to after that, like a week after that, I'm going to Greece. So I won't be going to AES this year. I'm going to Greece, and so that'll be fantastic. Hello, Arizona Plat member. Oh yeah, John Farnham, Australian. There's a lot of great Australian artists. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, so here I am, Sunset Sound, tracking drums all day in Sunset Sound Studio 1. This is one of my favorite sounding rooms. I prefer 3 personally because I like the hangout area. However, this is the room. This, as you know, is Van Halen, but it's also the Doors. It's Stairway to Heaven was cut here. A lot of Exile on Main Street overdubs were done in here, and Exile on Main Street was mixed in here. Plus, like I said, tons and tons of Love Forever Changes, like all these amazing sounding records recorded in this room. So it's a wonderful, wonderful place to come and work. I mean, truly is. Oh, you tour with Travis McNabb, and he says hi. Travis is an old friend of mine. I know how much trips to stay focused and motivating when recording someone you don't care for or music you don't care for. Love your work. That's a huge one. Look, it's a great, great question. Oh, by the way, please like and share. Everybody watching, can you like and share this? I would really appreciate it. Okay, so that's a really great question. I want to take time to answer to that one before I get into any other questions. This is my personal, honest opinion when it comes to that, what you're asking there. You need to make the music your own. You really do. You need to embrace it. If somebody brings you something in to work on, you need to put enough of your heart and your soul into this that you do love it. Does that make sense? I bring myself to every project. I don't care if it's a singer-songwriter, a rapper, oh, you're in Rhodes? That's where I'm flying to. I'm going to go to Lindos. I'm going to Lindos. That's where I'll be in a couple of weeks. So basically, that's what you have to do. You need to bring yourself to it. You need to put your heart and soul into it. And then you'll fall in love with, in about 3 weeks. While AES is on, I'm going to go to Lindos. My uncle has a place there. So we're going to go and see him. Anyway, so really, you need to bring yourself up. How do I tell a friend that I recall Fancy was singing these off pitch too often? You just got to be blunt and honest. Sometimes you just got to be honest with people. You've got to be like, especially if they're a friend, they'll respect you more. Hello, Juan in Argentina. They will respect you more if you're honest and you tell them how you feel. It's much better to do that. It's really, really important to do that. Okay. How can I send you some tracks? You can just send it to support@Produce Like a Pro. Anybody who wants to join the masterclass in a couple of weeks, please just write to us at support at Produce Like a Pro, or even Warren at Produce Like a Pro. Griff, I don't really have time to critique mixes outside of the academy. If you're an academy member, you can send it in the academy. Is it hard to learn patch bays and all of the analog gear when you walk into a new studio? I think for me, I've been doing this such a long time that most of this stuff is pretty second nature. And I think that's really the secret, is just cut yourself a break. If you don't know everything yet, it's okay. You don't have to know everything yet. You will learn a lot by doing it. I'm going to Full Sail and was getting into power compression. What instruments are best to use it on? I mean, you can use it on everything, anything. Obviously, drums for energy, live drums for energy, vocals underneath. A little parallel compression brings the vocal really forward. That's where I essentially use it, but you can use it on anything. Polychromatics. I'm going to Full Sail. Okay, sorry. When do you think of soft? I haven't used the Soft Tube stuff console yet, but I hear great things about it. Your Randy says they don't always take advice well. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's what you have to do. You know, you're talking to, you need to build up that respect and rapport with the artist, where it's okay for you to be able to tell them honestly what their performance is like. When I worked with Aerosmith, I was able to talk to Steven Tyler honestly and tell him whether it was good or bad. But I also was really honest with him, and when something was great, I didn't have any issue telling him when he was doing really well. Sometimes when you're working with artists, you've got to remember that they respond to constructive criticism, but they also need praise. And if they do something great, tell them. And I realized while working with Aerosmith that not many people were saying, well done. You know, and you might think, oh, well, I'm younger and I'm not as successful and as well known as this big, huge rock star. Yeah, but the point is like, so what happens? So they're one of the biggest rock stars in the world, and nobody's allowed to say well done to them. Think about it. They don't have to have that big of an ego that they don't need anybody to praise them and tell them when they're doing a good job. So my point is like, feel free to praise people when they do something well. And also, if you do that, then they'll believe you. Exactly. They're still human, says the rocker. It's really, really important to do both. If you're going to be critical with people, also remember to praise, or else you're just a negative guy. It's like I was just looking at some comments on the Ariel Showbaz stutter effect. Now that is very rudimentary stuff, but remember there's plenty of people out there who are learning Pro Tools, and they haven't yet figured out some of the most basic stuff. So when people are going, oh, he's just copy and pasting, of course he's copying and pasting stuff, but he's trying to show rudimentary stuff to a lot of up and coming people. And there was one guy that was said some really aggressive stuff on there, and he was like trying to praise me at the same time. And I'm like, my point is like, also, when you're being negative about something, have you ever said anything positive about anything? As you know, I read all the comments and I try so hard to respond to everybody. Thank you, Elroy. And I try really, really hard. So I try to give everybody respect. And you might think, you know, there's lots of well-known people with YouTube channels and they don't answer the questions. Think about that for a second. I work 12 or 15 hours a day making records, and I still spend about an hour a day answering my YouTube questions, answering my emails, trying to do things fall through the cracks. I miss questions, I forget emails, but most of the time I'm answering my own emails and I'm answering my own questions, because this is a community and this is really important to me. I'm not cynically putting up a YouTube channel to cash in and stuff like this. I have an ulterior motive, and my ulterior motive is to build an incredible community out here where people help each other. That's why we have the academy. Anybody that knows, like the guys here, like AJ and Timothy, that are a member of our academy, will tell you our community is unfreaking believable. Everybody in there, they've become incredible mixers and producers and engineers because everybody's so supportive in there. There's not that competitive kind of like you know, like every week we're going to choose the best mixer. It's like, that's silly. It's like, I want to help you become the best mixer, you know. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not trying to do a sales job. I'm just trying to tell you that as a producer, when you're asking me questions about how to get stuff out of artists, just remember to balance praise with criticism. Thank you very much, David. It is all about, when you get in there with an artist, helping them, helping focus them, help them, help focus them, number one, and keep them in focus, but also help them pull something out of it and make that music your own. That is the best way. And it doesn't matter if the song is not what you want it to be, you can make it what you want it to be. Challenge yourself, you know, make it absolutely amazing. Kind of torn between audio interfaces. I'm thinking Thunderbolt for sure, but PreSonus, Quantum, or Universal Audio. What is your favorite Thunderbolt interface? I like both of those companies. I don't, you know, I was talking about this with Barry from Radar, who no longer owns it. Actually, Paul Clark now owns it, but he was telling me that the chip is the same in essentially every single thing. So it not essentially, it is the same. So there's a lot of very similarities between it. It really comes down to, you know, it really comes down to the electronics around it. I personally love my Lavry to print to. I have a Lavry, which I absolutely love. I think that Apogee make great gear, Focusrite make great gear, Audient make incredibly affordable stuff. Sapphire Pro, M-Track. I mean, I like the Sapphire. I've used the Sapphire. I think it sounds great. So I can speak authoritatively about that. I really like that. Oh, thank you ever so much, Malibu, California. The taser face. That's funny. I've always, what was the question? I've always been able to find something useful every time I watch your videos. I really appreciate you reaching out to guys like me that might through the cracks. Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. It's like, those of you that know anything about my story, I'm trying to find somewhere to plug my phone in so it doesn't die. Hey, Lee! Those of you who know anything about my story know that I come from pretty humble background. I grew up in a really nice area where there was, you know, a decent amount of wealth in my area. But my dad's a painter. He's an artist. And so I didn't really grow up with any, like, you know, he was like a, you know, I just didn't have that advantage of having any expensive equipment. We built my first guitar because A, we didn't have any money, and B, I wanted to be Brian May. So it seemed to make some sense. But I always identify, that's why I like Yamaha guitars, because they're affordable and they make equipment for people to buy. Don't get me wrong, I like a Fender and a Gibson just like anybody else. But we'll ever do videos, some videos on 5.1? Yes, I will, definitely. It's probably hard, those interface of SSL console. That's my motherboard, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that, you know, it's important to me that we champion and we help each other. Community is really, really important to me. And, you know, it's really, really important to me. Thank you very much, Brian Maywer. There's me thinking a lot of people at this time in the morning. Then again, it's probably just me up at 6 a.m. in the UK. Good for you, 6 a.m. Shauna, why they're doing it wrong thing, or simply I would not point it out. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about when you're talking to artists? I think that you don't always have to tell them when they're doing something wrong. Why, you might ask, when you're working with a singer? Why would you not point out every mistake? I'll tell you why, because there's constructive criticism. And what that means is like helping focus somebody in the right direction is a really, really important thing. But sometimes, or a lot of the time, the artist is going to find that for themselves. So, do you let them do another take and discover the issue? Or do you point it out and maybe frustrate them? It's a personality thing. Sometimes they're looking for supreme guidance, and that's where the psychology comes in. Are they looking for you to tell them exactly what the problem is all the time, or are they looking for you to just guide them when they need the help? And that is what good productions is all about. What kind of headphones are good for mixing? I've recently been using the Biodynamic